A hate crime is more of a phenomenon rather than a crime under criminal law as such. It comprises two elements. The first element is a criminal offence. Now, there is some consensus between states as to what constitutes a criminal offence. This will be things like intimidation, property damage, assault or murder. The second element is a bias motive. Now, bias motive will be an assumption or a preconceived negative opinion towards a particular group or a particular member of a group based on their protected characteristic. That characteristic will be something like race, gender, ethnicity, nationality. So you can see why hate crimes particularly affect and put minorities and Indigenous peoples at risk. Hate speech differs from hate crime because it lacks the element of a criminal offence. Essentially, speech which attacks someone on the basis of their race, ethnicity or gender isn't usually a hate crime. However, there can be incidences where incitement to violence against a member of a group which has a particular protected characteristic or a group per se can constitute an element of a hate crime. MRG believes that the law should specifically protect against hate crime because hate crime sends a clear message to members of a particular group and that needs to be rebutted. There needs to be a clear, robust message from legislation that says that such behaviour cannot be tolerated. Hate crimes need to be appropriately investigated, prosecuted and punished, and at the same time send a message that such behaviour and institutionalised discrimination needs to be eradicated. Legislation against hate crime differs around the world. For example, in Bosnia, this is a state which has enacted effective hate crime legislation, and it has been widely recognised as being effective legislation. The problem is that the legislation isn't actually used in practice, so the police, courts, lawyers, citizens need to actually use that law and make sure it is implemented and put into place and given effect. South Africa, on the other hand, quite surprisingly, hasn't actually enacted any hate crime legislation yet, although there is a policy framework that was released by the government recently, so it seems as if this might be something that develops in the coming months. India provides another interesting example. For example, it has a law which protects against violence against Dalits, although unfortunately that law is very often not enforced. There has also, however, been a call within India to have wider hate crime legislation to protect against all hate crimes. MRG believes that hate crime laws need to be thoroughly implemented. That means that it needs to be respected and enforced by citizens, by police, by courts, by lawyers, by judges. If we don't respect hate crime laws, then this undermines their value, and in turn this undermines the rules of law. At the same time, it sends a very strong message that such behaviour can be tolerated, and it shouldn't. Hate crimes need to be thoroughly and appropriately investigated, pursued and prosecuted through the courts.